Welcome to the Power of Purity podcast, the show that empowers men to experience their sexual gift in a healthier way. Now here's your host, Tony Ingracia.
Hey guys, welcome to this edition of the Power of Purity podcast, and thank you for being here with me today. I do pray that today's episode will be a blessing to you and be an encouragement to you, and I trust that it will be. And the title that I've chosen for today's episode is The Betrayal of Your Body. And I want to share with you guys some things that I've been thinking about most recently. And it concerns the reality that if we're going to be men of sexual purity, that a big part of the battle concerns learning to manage and control our own physical body in a way that's honoring to God. Because I think what happens to so many of us, I know what happened to me, is that my body places a kind of demand upon me because my body wants its sex, right? My body wants its orgasm. My body wants its release. Our physical body has these appetites and these desires, and our body tells us what it wants and when it wants us. And what happens for so many of us is we get into a rhythm with our own physical body where basically we cooperate with our body and we know the language of our body, and we basically give our body what it wants when it wants it. And as a result, from a very early age, and I'm talking like age 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, as we're going through puberty and the sexual tension and reality in our body is emerging, and we discover our penis. As a young man, we discover orgasm, we discover masturbation, then we discover that we can repeat this incredibly intense, wonderful, powerful, euphoric, amazing feeling. We don't experience just once, but we can repeat it over and over again as many times as we want. And therefore, what happens is we get into this rhythm with our own physical body, and we cooperate with our body, and we're giving our body like a kind of authority over us. And therefore, we learn to live in submission to our body and what our body wants, when our body wants it, the appetites and the desires and the drive of our physical body. And really, our body then begins to place a kind of demand upon us. And our body tells us what it wants and when it wants it. And we tend to cooperate with the rhythms and the appetites and the desires and the demands of our body. And I don't know about you, but when I was a young man, once I discovered masturbation, I literally would masturbate every single day, typically, at least one time. And maybe there was a time here or there where I would go 2 days or 3 days, but pretty much it was a very steady rhythm that I had with my own body, cooperating with my body, essentially obeying my body. So the premise of today's episode, you guys, is that if we're ever going to be a man of sexual purity, you're going to have to engage a battle with your body, because basically you have trained your body into a rhythm, a working cooperation, when your body gets what it wants when it wants. And one of the strongest demands of the physical body is its sexual release. And therefore, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to, in a sense, tame our body. We're going to have to learn to control our body. We're going to have to take authority over our body. We're going to have to bring our body into submission to something. And we're going to have to basically come to the place where we tell our body, you don't tell me anymore when we get an orgasm. I tell you when we get an orgasm. So in a very real way, you have to take authority over your body. And let me share this metaphor with you guys that I've been thinking about. You know that I offer this Power of Purity intensive workshop, and I hope to offer it 4 times this year in 2020, 1 each quarter. But because of the COVID situation, it's been very difficult and it's kind of messed things up. But I do intend to stick with this Power of Purity intensive workshop. It's a 3-day workshop, and you can get more information about it at our website, powerofpurity.org. Go there and you can get information. But the way that I'm setting up this workshop, I want you to picture the metaphor of a clock. And there's a hub in the middle, right? That the hour hand and the minute hand revolve on this hub in the middle. And then around the exterior edge of the clock face, there are 12 numbers representing each hour of a 12-hour sequence. So there's 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And these 12 numbers are around the perimeter, which has the hub on the inside. So in this metaphor, the hub at the epicenter of the clock represents sexual purity. So we're saying this is the goal for us as Christian men. We want to be men of sexual purity. We want to be men of sexual integrity. We want to be men who have learned to control their body instead of being controlled by their body. We want to be men who have learned to bring our sexual self into submission to Christ. We want to be men who are honoring God and honoring our wife with the expression of our sexual gift in this highly sexualized world. So the premise of the metaphor is this. I would propose, guys, that sexual purity, if we're going to achieve it, is not based upon just one simple formula. Oh, just do this one thing and you'll have sexual purity and the battle will be over. Rather, I would advocate that, like the metaphor of the cake, when you make a cake, there's a lot of different ingredients that go into the cake, right? 10 or 12 different ingredients you mix together and put all of that in the pan, then you put it in the oven. And the cake that comes out of the oven is predicated upon the ingredients that went into the cake mix. So your sexual self and my sexual self is a combination of many different ingredients that got mixed together, that get mixed together. And therefore, I'm suggesting that if we're going to be men of sexual purity, it's not going to be based upon just one factor or two factors, but there's going to be a number of factors, and I'm talking like probably 10 or 12 different factors that are very, very significant. Each one of these is an ingredient that's going to impact your ability to be a man of purity. But the point that I'm getting to is this. Without a question, one of those main aspects, one of those primary ingredients to the mix of purity is the issue of your physical body. A man is going to have to learn to deal with his physical body. He's going to have to train his body. He's going to have to overcome his body. He's going to have to tame his body. He's going to have to change the rhythm that he has established over the years with his own body. He's going to have to take authority over his body. And he's going to have to learn to manage his body in a healthier way according to God and God's kingdom, God's heart, God's mind, what God says about sex, and bring his body into submission to all that. So in a very real way, guys, I hate to say it this way, but I think it's true. We're like in a fight with our own body. In a way, your body is your enemy because your body wants sex. Your body wants its orgasm. Your body wants this release. And you've trained your body into this rhythm. And your body has a voice. Your body has an opinion. Your body knows what it wants. And your body tells you what it wants. And therefore, if you're going to learn to walk in purity before God, you're going to have to learn to take authority over your body and manage your body in a healthier way. And this is what I mean by the title of the episode today, The Betrayal of Your Body. There's a sense in which your body will betray you. That if you just allow your body to have its own way without trying to temper it or control it or guide it, that if you allow your body to just run rampant with its instinct and desires and drives and needs and demands that it's going to place upon you, then you will never be a man of sexual purity. It's kind of like the animals, right? Animals aren't governed by conscience. They're governed by instinct, and therefore, when it's time to mate, it's mating season, like for buck deer, they are driven by their sex drive, and it compels them, and it tells them what to do and how to do it, and therefore they run during the mating season, and they mate this doe, and then when they're done, they run and they scout till they found the next doe, the next doe, the next doe, the next doe, and there's this kind of drivenness that's produced in the male body. And I don't think it's any less true for human beings, that our body has these drives and desires and demands, and that if you let your body just run its natural course, you let your body do what it wants to do, that it's going to compel you. So in a sense, your body becomes a kind of enemy. Your body will betray the possibility of you being a man of God. Your body will betray the possibility of you being a man of sexual purity. So we're going to have to learn to tame our body. So I'm kind of starting off this episode with the bad news here, you guys, that your body is about the business of betraying you. And let me just share some thoughts with you on this, you guys. My mother is 87 years old, and we've been confronted with a very difficult situation the past almost 2 months now at the time of this recording, because my mom had a very serious stroke, and it does not look very good. And my mom has basically lost her right side, her right leg, her right arm, and her speech is very confused and convoluted. Sometimes she seems to understand what's going on. Other times she's very confused. She's not able to speak right. The wrong words come out. So we can say, in a sense, my mom's body has betrayed her. And this is true for every single person, you guys. In this world, you know, they say that death is democratic, right? For every person born, one person is going to die. And the reason we die is because in this wounded, broken world, our bodies break down. Our bodies are physical. They're mortal. And they're subject to pain and disease and brokenness and suffering and aging and cancer and all these things that can happen to our physical body. A good friend of mine from church, his name is Steve. In fact, I interviewed Steve and Jamie Van Valen very early on in this podcast. If you want to hear their story, they have quite an amazing story as a married couple, their own sexual journey that God took them on. But Steve was diagnosed several years ago with MS. And as a result of that, Steve is now in a wheelchair. He has something called primary progressive MS, which means that his MS basically is getting worse and worse all the time. So we can say, in a way, Steve's body has betrayed him, right? It's betraying him. Something went wrong with his body, and his body is now subject to this disease, and it's having a profound effect on him. So in a way, our natural body betrays us. It betrays our faith. It betrays our Christianity. It betrays our desire and interest to be a man of God and to be a man of purity. Or said another way, our physical body will literally work against us and compel us in the opposite direction of God. If Christ is to the right, my body wants to go to the left. God is to the right, my body wants to go to the left. My body will compel me to engage in activities and to do things and to have desires and to make decisions that are essentially anti-Christ and anti-God and anti-God's kingdom. So if I'm going to be a man of purity, I'm going to have to tame my body. I'm going to have to fight my body. My body's trying to betray me. The betrayal of your body. And so we're going to have to deal with this if we're going to be men of purity. And I'm advocating this is one of the primary battlefronts for a Christian man as he attempts to be a man of purity. Dude, you're going to have to learn to tame your body and deal with your body. Well, let me share one more story that I learned just this past week. A friend of mine, this is a gal that I know from the context of church and faith and everything, my faith community. Anyway, she was diagnosed with a tumor in her brain, of all things, and it was incredibly scary, and they weren't sure what the prognosis was and what the implications were, and so they decided to do this brain surgery. So she went through a very traumatic, significant, amazing, pretty big deal to have surgery in your brain, right? And they attempted to take this tumor out. And I understand that the procedure was very successful, so it was good news, and there's hope. And so she's in the process, and this is just weeks after her brain surgery. She's recovering from the brain surgery, and then the doctor does some tests. They do an EKG, and he says, something's not right with this EKG. Something's going on with your heart, and it's pretty alarming. Like, it appears something's wrong. And so now they're launching into a new thing with tests on her heart and what are the implications and the diagnosis and what's going on. So in the very shadow of the brain surgery, now she literally is in recovery, and now a new issue with her body is emerging, which concerns her heart. And so it's just crazy. So we could say, in a way, this woman's body is betraying her, right? Something is going on with the human body that works against us and causes sickness and all these issues. And I've got several proof texts that I'm going to share with you here in just a moment to support what I'm trying to convey here. But let me tell you just a little bit more in the way of illustration. I'll just talk about myself, and this might be a little bit too much information, I don't know. But I'll tell you guys, I'm 63 years old now at the time of this recording, and I am alarmed at the issues that are emerging with my physical body. I made it basically to age 59 pretty much unscathed. I just was doing really, really well up to the age of 59. And once I hit 59, I started having some issues with this and that. And every year, it seems like I'm just alarmed at what's going on with my physical body. So, number one, I have this issue with kidney stones. And kidney stones are absolutely horrible. They are unbelievably painful. And by the way, I've known several women in my life who have had both babies and kidney stones. And without exception, every woman has said to me that having a kidney stone is far worse and far more painful than having a baby. And I don't know how many kidney stones I've had in my life, you guys, but I'm telling you, I think it's at least 12. I mean, I've had quite a history of kidney stones. So I have had the equivalent in my life of 12 children that my body has produced, the pain level of going through these kidney stones. And I had not had a kidney stone for several years here most recently. And then I had an episode for whatever reason just months ago, and I was having pain and the same issue, and I ended up passing another kidney stone. So for whatever reason, my body makes these kidney stones, and it's been something that I've really struggled with. Well, then in the meantime, several years ago, I started having an issue with gout. And I don't know if you've ever had gout, and I pray to God you never have gout, because it is absolutely horrible. It's unbelievably painful. And when it's really bad, you can't wear shoes, you can't walk. I mean, it's unbearable. And I understand that basically your body makes uric acid And I think that this is all implicates the kidneys. So again, there's something going on with my kidneys, and I think maybe the gout has to do with that. And by the way, my grandfather that I'm named after, his name was Antonio Licata, my mother's father, who I'm named after. That's why I have the name Tony. And he died in his early 60s. I'm not sure. I'm thinking he was 63 years old. And on his death certificate, it says kidney disease. He died from issues with his kidneys. And I'm afraid it appears that maybe I didn't just get his name. I'm afraid maybe I got his kidneys. So my body makes this uric acid, and this uric acid causes these crystals to form in the joints of your body. And for some reason, it tends to happen more in your feet and specifically in your big toes. And when this happens, it's just really, really terrible. So I am actually taking a pill now. I have to take this little pill every single day in order to help my body not make too much uric acid. And then I was having this situation, this is going back several years, where I was just tired all the time. I would have a good night's sleep. I'd sleep 7 or 8 or 9 hours at night, and I'd wake up, and I would wake up exhausted, even though I just had a pretty good night's sleep. And then I would be tired all day, and it felt like I was dragging through my day, and I wanted to perpetually take a nap. And something just wasn't right. I don't know what's going on. Why am I so tired all the time? And I'm trying to be aware of my diet a little bit and eat a little bit healthier and get a little exercise and these different things. So finally, I went and I talked to my doctor. And my doctor said, Tony, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to put you on this little pill, and it's a low dose antidepressant. And I said, doctor, no, wait, I don't think I'm depressed. It's not that I'm depressed, it's just that I'm tired. And he said, no, Tony, I'm not giving you this pill for depression. It is an antidepressant, but I'm giving you the pill because it's going to help you not be tired. Just trust me, this is going to help you. So here's my kindergarten explanation of this, you guys, and I'm not a brain scientist. But we know that in the human brain, there's this thing called the happy cocktail. And we've talked about this because it has to do even with the issue of sexual purity. Because in the same way on my metaphor of the clock, the 12 numbers on the perimeter, one fight that you're going to have if you're going to be a man of purity is you and your body. Another number on that outside perimeter is the brain, you and your brain. In other words, you're going to have work to do in your relationship with your brain if you're going to be a man of purity. So there's this happy cocktail. The main ingredient is dopamine, but there's serotonin, there's endorphins, and there's oxytocin. These 4 chemicals in your brain are called the happy cocktail. And they combine together and formulate in such a way to make a person feel good. And I understand that dopamine is the main ingredient of this happy cocktail. So what happens is your brain is making this dopamine. Dopamine gives you energy. Dopamine makes you feel good. Dopamine affects your outlook toward life. It helps you to feel optimistic instead of pessimistic. And it energizes you. So in your brain, you have these things called uptake receptors. And these uptake receptors are what suck up the dopamine in your brain. So imagine this, if I took a box full of marbles and I dumped them out on the floor in my bedroom. And then I said, well, I want to pick up these marbles. So I get a vacuum cleaner and I start sucking up the marbles. Well, in this metaphor, the marbles represent dopamine and the vacuum cleaner represents the uptake receptors in your brain. And what happens is if the vacuum cleaner gets weak, then it can't suck up the marbles, right? So your brain, even though it's making the dopamine, it's not like getting sucked up into your brain through your intake receptors. So your brain's not processing the dopamine properly. So what we need to do is fix your vacuum cleaners. We're going to try to open them up. We're going to make the vacuum cleaners stronger so they can suck up the marbles. And that's why the doctor gave me this antidepressant, low dose. He said it's going to help your uptake of dopamine and it's going to make you feel better. So let me just tell you guys, my doctor was absolutely right. I cannot tell you how much this pill affected me. I think of every medication, every situation I've ever had in my life, when my doctor gave me this particular pill, it really, really helped me. And I felt more energy, I felt more alive, I felt more optimistic, and that issue of being tired, instead of dragging through my day, it's just unbelievable how that pill helped me. And I take one of those every day now. And then I also have issues with my lower back that are perpetual. And I have issues with my eyes now. I'm telling you guys, I'm 63, and I'm a little bit alarmed what's going on with my eyes because my eyes kind of just feel weird. Something doesn't feel right. And then I get these floaters in my eyes. I actually went to the eye doctor a couple times. And I'm telling you, like, imagine if you were outside at the park and somebody threw a baseball at you, and in the periphery of your eyesight, you saw this ball coming, you would instinctively jerk your head to like try to get away from this thing that you see. And I got to the place where every once in a while, I would see this thing, like a black thing. It looked like a baseball or a football, all of a sudden right there. So much so that I would literally physically jerk my head out of the way, like, oh my God, what is that? And then I realized there's nothing there. It's just something in my eye, like these things popping in and out. And this floater, he says there's floaters in my eyes. Basically, there's nothing to do about it. And it depends on where they happen to float. And if they kind of float in the wrong place where your eye sees it, even though it's on the inside of your eye, it looks like you're kind of seeing this thing, or it looks all kind of a little bit hazy all of a sudden because there's this thing that's impeding your vision on the inside of your eye. And then another issue is acid reflux. And that is, I would eat and I would have this acid reflux from my stomach up through my esophagus into my throat. And if you've ever had this, it's pretty horrible, right? Indigestion and acid reflux. And it can burn, and it's incredibly uncomfortable. And so I started taking these things called Pepcid, and they're kind of a chalky kind of a pill, a tablet, kind of like a Rolaids on steroids, only they're bigger than a Rolaids. And you chew this thing up, and it's kind of chalky. And you're only allowed to take one per day, one every 24 hours. And it really, really works. That's the good news. I had very good luck with Pepcid to really quell down that feeling. And I'm telling you, I got to where I was eating these Pepcid by the bottle full. Every single day I needed a Pepcid because I had this issue going on. And finally, I talked to my doctor about it, and he said, Tony, yeah, the Pepcid is good, but that's not what we want to do because you're having an issue, and the Pepcid is like a Band-Aid. You're dealing with the issue after it's already happened. So I'm going to give you a different pill that deals with the issue before it happens. That way you don't have to deal with the symptoms. So the doctor gave me a pill that I take now every single day. I'm telling you guys, I'm 63 years old. It's pathetic. There's several pills that I have to take every single day. And before I get away from this, I'm going to go ahead in the interest of full disclosure and transparency and vulnerability and tell you guys about one other issue, and that is ED. And that is, again, I'm 63, and it's not like a big problem for me, but I'm telling you guys, I can tell things don't work as well as I would like. Things don't work like when I was 22 years old. And I'm still able to function and everything, but sometimes my erection just isn't as good as I would like it to be. And there's something going on there, and I need a little bit of help. And so I'm experimenting now with this medication, that pill, this pill, trying to figure out what really works. And I'm looking for a little bit of reinforcements when it comes to my sexual performance. And I hate to say it, but I guess that's just a reality of aging. So what's the point, you guys? The point that I'm getting to, and I see from the clock that I'm about out of time for today's episode, I want you to come back because I have a number of proof texts that I want to share with you in support of this concept of the betrayal of your body. But the point I'm getting to through my stories about other people and the story of what's going on with me and my body is the title of today's episode, The Betrayal of Your Body. In a very real way, my body is betraying me as I've gotten older. My body is turning against me. My body isn't working as good as it used to work. And so I'm having these issues with my body. And we all know that eventually I'm going to die, right? You're going to die. Our body will betray us. Our body is going to give out. And the premise of what I'm getting to, you guys, and I'll end with this thought, is that in the same way your body betrays you as you get older, you start to have these issues, I would advocate that one of the primary ways that your body betrays you is sexually, because your body is this very powerful organism, and one of the strongest appetites, one of the strongest drives, one of the strongest needs of the body, especially the male body with testosterone, is the need for sex. So your body is going to basically compel you. Your body's going to try to boss you. Your body's going to insist upon you. Give me sex. Give me my orgasm. Give me my release. And so, in a way, in its own way, your body is betraying you. It's betraying the possibility of you being a man of God and a man of sexual purity. And therefore, the implication of this is that if we're going to be the man that God wants us to be, if we're going to be the man of sexual integrity and sexual purity that God wants us to be, then it absolutely implicates your relationship with your body, and you're going to have to enter into this battle with your body, this challenge with your body, and you're going to have to learn to tame your body. You're going to have to learn to take authority over your body. You're going to have to tell your body, teach your body, train your body into a new rhythm where you teach your body, dude, you don't hold power over me. You don't tell me when we get a sexual release. I tell you, and you're going to have to bring your body into submission. And therefore, if you are interested in this topic, if you'd like to hear the conclusion, I invite you to come back next week for part 2 of the betrayal of your body. And I'm going to share several scriptures with you and several insights that hopefully will be very encouraging and helpful as you seek to tame your body, to live within the context of your own body in a way that's honoring to God. So I invite you to come back next week. Guys, God bless you. Thanks for listening to today's episode, and I'll look forward to seeing you right back here next week. In the meantime, be blessed in Jesus' name. Have a fantastic week. Have a blessed day, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye now.
Thanks for listening. Visit powerofpurity.org for more resources and information. And if this podcast has been helpful or encouraging, please invite a friend to listen. Until next time, remember, there's power in purity.